You can see the reaction from the protesters there. This is a really significant moment for them, isn't it?
윤 대통령 탄핵 소추안 가결 소식에 환호한 것은 한국인들뿐만이 아니었습니다. BBC, CNN 등의 외신 역시 탄핵안 통과 과정과 우리 국민의 거리 집회를 집중 조명하며 한국의 민주주의와 법치주의가 권력 남용을 막는 데 성공했다는 찬사를 쏟아냈는데요. 특히 한국에서 수년간 특파원으로 근무했으며 이번 사태가 벌어지자마자 한국으로 와서 소식을 전한 BBC의 로라 비커 기자가 이번 사태에 대한 심층적인 시각과 의견을 전했습니다. 영상으로 함께 살펴보시죠.
So let's begin with that breaking news in South Korea, where Parliament has voted to remove President Yoon Suk-yeol from power over his short-lived declaration of martial law 12 days ago. Yoon will be suspended immediately from office and the Prime Minister will become the acting president. It follows an earlier impeachment vote last week that failed, you may remember. Well, here was the moment the results of the impeachment vote was announced.
204 in favor out of 300. Against is 85. And I announce it has passed.
Well, these were the jubilant scenes as tens of thousands of protesters who had gathered outside the National Assembly received the news. And we can show you some live scenes now of the protesters still there in the aftermath of receiving that news. As you can see, yes, celebratory scenes there. People have been singing Into the New World by the K-pop group Girls' Generation as fireworks broke out overhead. And as you can see, they continue to stay in place in reaction to the news of the impeachment. Well, let's speak now to my colleague Laura Bicker, who for many years was our Seoul correspondent and is watching events from Beijing, where she is. Laura, first of all, you can see the reaction from the protesters there. This is a really significant moment for them, isn't it?
Huge moment. For the last 12 days, South Korea has been in political turmoil. They watched in horror as on that Tuesday night, late at night, President Yoon declared martial law. Now that sent chills through a country that had for decades fought authoritarian rule. For many of the young people on the streets that you are seeing partying now, their parents, their grandparents fought for democracy. Some of them died for democracy. And here they are once again defending it on the streets. And that is how they see it. Those parties will continue well into the night. Now, when it came to this impeachment vote last week, the opposition party tried to push towards impeachment, but President Yoon's own party, the ruling party, boycotted the vote. There was huge disappointment. But over the last week, the pressure has gone up. The mood has changed. And that is because more details about what happened that night. President Yoon himself stayed quiet most of the week and then made an impassioned plea on Thursday saying he would fight until the end. It became increasingly clear to his own party that he would not step down, that he would not resign, and that he would have to be impeached. And that is what has led to this vote in the last hour.
And Laura, people listening to what you've been saying may well wonder what on earth was Yoon thinking, because surely this was a gamble that was set to fail.
This was a huge political gamble. Look, the question that we've been trying to answer since he declared martial law is, what on earth was he thinking? I think you have to look at where President Yoon comes from. He was not a politician, he was a prosecutor, and he rose to prominence by prosecuting two former presidents. And then he won an election, but only just. It was by less than 1%, about 0.7, 0.8%. So he didn't really have the kind of power that he hoped for right from the start. He struggled with the opposition party and he struggled within his own party to get anything done. Increasingly isolated, he has felt and certainly seems to have been listening to conspiracy theories about rigged elections, and also he feels that he's up against constant forces that he believes are pro-North Korean voices, and he believes that the only way to get rid of those voices was to declare martial law. That was certainly his defence. So it gives you an insight into what he was thinking. It has to be said that there is absolutely no evidence for those claims whatsoever. Even his own party do not agree with him when it comes to those claims about rigged elections and pro-communist forces. So that is what perhaps he was thinking. Now he will no longer be president. He will be stripped of his powers. It will go to the Prime Minister, and the next steps are that this decision has to be ratified and reviewed by the Constitutional Court. If the court decides, and this could take many months, if the court decides that it is constitutional, then another presidential election will be called.
Laura Bicker, thank you. We will be returning to you later. That's our correspondent, Laura Bicker.
전 세계 언론 중 가장 공정하고 객관적인 시각을 지녔다는 평가를 받는 BBC 방송마저 계엄령 선포 초기부터 탄핵 소추안 통과에 이르기까지 윤 대통령의 행동에 대해 날카롭게 비판하는 동시에 적극적으로 행동에 나선 한국인들의 모습에 여러 차례 놀라움을 표해왔는데요. 한국 특파원이었던 로라 비커 기자를 연결해 탄핵 소추안 가결에 이르게 된 배경은 물론이고 윤 대통령의 의중까지 심층 분석하는 모습이었죠. 한편 ABC 뉴스는 조금 다른 방식으로 이번 소식을 전했습니다. 영상으로 만나보시죠.
It all came down to this moment. Elation on the streets of Seoul after news broke President Yoon Suk-yeol had been impeached.
When they announced the impeachment had passed, I cried hard because I was so touched.
There was a festive feel even before the vote as huge crowds braved the cold.
형편없는 놈입니다.
He's human trash, below humanity. He wanted to have a permanent presidency, which is treason. He's just crazy.
Yoon Suk-yeol imposed martial law last week, citing North Korean threats. It was a short-lived grab for absolute power as the opposition broke through security and assembled in Parliament to vote it down.
The President loses his powers immediately as a result of this vote. The Prime Minister now takes charge. But the matter isn't entirely over yet. It's going to the Constitutional Court where Yoon Suk-yeol can again fight for the top job. Either way, for these people who wanted him out of office, this is a much-needed victory.
윤 대통령의 탄핵 소추안 통과에 대한 BBC를 비롯한 해외 매체의 심층 보도, 여러분께서는 어떻게 보셨나요? 영국의 가디언과 뉴욕타임스 등 신문 매체 역시 윤 대통령의 탄핵안 통과는 권력 남용을 막고 법치주의를 유지하는 데 견제와 균형이 얼마나 중요한지를 잘 보여준다면서 윤 대통령의 운명을 결정지은 것은 스스로의 행동이었다라는 문장으로 이번 사태의 원인이 윤 대통령에게 있음을 강조했습니다. 또한 한국인들의 행동은 전 세계인들에게 민주주의가 얼마나 중요한지 다시금 일깨워줬다며 한국이 아닌 다른 나라였다면 이처럼 신속하고 평화롭게 국민적 합의가 이뤄지지 않을 것이라며 감탄하는 모습이었죠. 오늘 내용에도 공감하신다면 좋아요와 구독 부탁드리겠습니다. 항상 함께해 주시는 구독자, 시청자 여러분 감사합니다.